Hello everyone, this is Venom, and today we are checking out some of the combinations that you can get on the exotic class items for Prismatic coming out in final shape. Now, we did of course get the full list of exotic effects that we'll be able to roll on the exotic class items. We got those released on May 9th for the TWID for that day, and we know all the effects that are going to be coming out on the class items. Now, keep in mind, of course, Bungie also came out and said that we will not be able to farm for these class items until week 2. I don't know if any are going to be dropping in week 1 or like maybe once you beat the campaign or something, but they did come out and say that we will be able to farm for them in an activity that has not been disclosed starting week 2, basically after the world's first race. That being said, we do have the list for each class on what effects we're going to have. There are going to be 6 effects total, 3 for each column, that are going to be universal for all class items, and then there are going to be 10 more that are going to be class specific. So we have some that are going to be universal and some that are going to be class specific. So today we're going to be going over the Hunter, and I got 5 combinations here for PvE and a couple for PvP that I'm going to go over. Now, one is going to be an honorable mention for all classes. It is one that I wanted to see. I kind of predicted this would be a role, and that's going to be the Spirit of the Inmost Light and the Star Eater, or Spirit of the Star Eater. Now, of course, the Heart of Inmost Light says using an ability empowers the other 2 abilities, granting them improved energy regeneration, and the Spirit of Star Eater is going to increase the power of your super by picking up additional orbs of power. Now, you'll note that those are just going to be kind of generic effects. They're not going to be very specific to builds, but they are going to power up every build. It's going to reduce all your ability cooldowns, and it's going to power up your super. Now, I think it's going to be good for every class. Is it going to be top tiers? Is it going to be like a S class? No, but I think it's going to be a solid A class for each class. I think it's going to be very good generically to just have on to stomp around or do whatever. I think it's going to be a very good generic role to have, but I don't think it's going to be necessarily S tier, top tier. But it is one that happens to be very good for all the classes, so keep that one in mind. Again, that's the Heart of Inmost Light. I got some comments talking about that last time, telling me that it was nerfed. I know it was nerfed, and I know we're not going to get the full power of it. Even with that nerf, it's still an ability cooldown. It is a flat ability cooldown. You don't get those too often outside of picking up Orbs of Light with like Absolution on. So having just a flat reduction to all of your skills, especially for like the Hunter, because they can pop its class ability so often, is a very, very good ability. You don't see that too often. Nerfed or not, it's still great. On top of that, the starter skills, of course, are like the top tier way to make supers very powerful for hunters. Combine those 2 together, it's going to be a very generic build, a very generic role that will be good for all 3 classes. So keep that one in mind. Don't sleep on that one. I think it's going to be very good. Again, it's going to be ability regeneration plus super damage. We're all in one. I think it's going to be great for all 3. So I'm only going to mention that as an honorable mention for each one at the start of the video. And then past that, these next 5 are going to be specific for just the Hunter. So, starting off with the first combination here, I've got the Spirit of Galanor, and I've got the Spirit of the Star Eater. Now, the Spirit of Galanor says, hits and final blows with your super will return energy after it ends. This is basically like the Orpheus Rig or the Shards of Galanor, where when you get so many hits with your super, you get energy back. Now, back in the day, of course, before they nerfed them, you could actually get your full super back with the Orpheus Rig. It was actually really cool. And the Shards of Galanor, of course, Bungie did, of course, come out and nerf that, which sucked. Granted, in PvP it was too strong, but they did go ahead and nerf it. You can only get up to half your energy back. That's still very, very powerful. Now, they basically taken that, and I'm sorry to say this is not for all 3 classes. This is going to be Hunter only. I thought this might be one that all 3 classes would get. It looks like Hunter is going to be the only one getting this one, so we're going to be getting very fast supers back. And for all the supers too, not just 1 or 2. So we're basically going to be cutting our super requirements in half using that. On top of that, we got the Spirit of the Star Eater. So on top of not only having our super recharge time cut in half because we're going to be getting energy back, we're also going to get very super powerful supers because of the Spirit of the Star Eater. So it's going to be a very super focused combination, but I think it's going to be very good when you're doing raids, when you're doing dungeons. This is going to be a DPS or a boss damaging machine. Now, I think it's going to be really good combined with something like the Golden Gun, but I'm curious to see how it works with all the other supers as well. Golden Gun, I think, is going to be probably the best as far as single target DPS. I think it's going to be really great for raids. And past that, I mean, like I said, starter skills by themselves are already a top tier exotic, boosting all your supers, but that combined with the fact your supers will be cut in half essentially, I think this is going to be amazing. So I cannot wait to try that one out. Next up, we have got one that I think is going to be excellent for Grandmasters. Now, most of what I've seen here, I haven't got to test anything yet, obviously, because Final Shape's not out, but I've been racking my brain about how some of the Grandmaster builds are going to work, especially on my main, my Hunter. Now, I'm definitely going to have to go through and do some new Grandmaster builds because I can't make the builds I normally would. However, I do see one that's going to be great for Grandmasters. I believe it's going to make you very tanky, and it's going to be combining the Spirit of Renewal and the Spirit of the, and I know I'm going to say it right, Karkanine. So Spirit of Renewal, and I know I said Karkanine right. It's the Spider Mask one. I'm gonna get it wrong. I can never pronounce it. Nobody can. But the Spirit of Renewal says allies inside the dust field take reduced damage, and targets inside the area do reduce damage. This is the Renewal Grasp effect. This is a very strong effect that made the Hunter very, very tanky. Now, we unfortunately will not be able to make our grenade bigger, I don't believe, because we don't have that aspect. However, the Spirit of Renewal is going to be a very, very strong defensive perk. On top of that, combine that with the Spirit of the Karkanine. It says gain Woven Mail when you use your grenade. Basically, by using your Dust Field grenade, you're going to be getting an extreme damage reduction and reduce the damage your enemies do standing inside a dusk field. On top of that, you'll be getting Woven Mill automatically by using that grenade. Now, on top of that, you can use, I forgot what the fragment's called, but it's a fragment that will change depending on what your super is when you pick up an overpower. It'll give you a defensive buff, depending on what, say, like Frozen Mail does, which we still don't know what it does yet, but you can pick up an overpower, say Frozen Mail, or you can have and that's if you have on a Stasis Super, or if you got on a Void Super, you could get an Overshield. You would basically have like 3 ways to stack damage reduction. I think this is going to be a very powerful defensive build for Grandmasters, and this is another one I cannot wait to actually use. And this one is easy. You just pop your grenade, and you got 2 different defensive bonuses going. On top of that, having your resilience up to 100, which you should have for Grandmaster anyway, then having any resist mods on, you're going to be very, very tanky, and I think we're going to probably get tankier than the actual Titans can. Now, that might be talking a little bit of shit. We'll see how that actually works out, but this is going to be, it's going to be some crazy damage reduction. I cannot wait to see it. Next up, we've got the Spirit of the Assassin, and we've got the Spirit of the Gerfalcon. Now, the Gerfalcon is not an effect I expected to see for the Hunter. This is going to be nuts because I really hoped that it would be. I didn't think it would because it was class specific and we weren't sure of the rules. This is one of my favorite exotics, and this is one of the best Hunter exotics, especially for an Invis build and for a Void build. Spirit of Gerfalcon is a top tier, is an S-class exotic, and I cannot believe it's one that's on the list. Now, it says your Void weapons gain volatile rounds after you emerge from being invisible. Gerfalcons had 2 effects, and they chose the better of the 2 effects. Now, the second effect says if you're invisible and you get a finisher, you get a shield, an overshield that will deploy once you use your class ability, and your allies will get it too. Never even use that effect. I think I'd never even know when it procs. The first effect, the volatile round effect, is the best part of that effect because it would actually work with Stylus Executioner. So basically, you would come out of invisibility with a void weapon, you'd get a kill with it, and it would turn you invisible again, and it would basically keep procking over and over again. So the fact that we got that is amazing. Combine that with the Spirit of the Assassin, which says finishers empowered melee final blows grant invisibility, and we've got a perfect invis exotic right there. Now, unfortunately, like I said, everything I've seen so far is showing that the only way for us to turn invisible is to get a kill, which sucks because we did have a build, or a couple builds where we could turn invisible without having to proc that. That does make turning invisible a little bit harder in things like Grandmaster, but we do have many tools to turn invisible getting kills. So, luckily we got the Spirit of Assassin and the Gerfalcon. They will work very well together. I cannot wait to use that one as well. I think that there's another build I don't want to use with the Gerfalcon as well, but there's a couple really good combinations on here that will work very perfectly with Invis builds and with Void builds in general. I think Void builds are going to have a very, very good time using Prismatic. Alright, the next combination I'm looking at here is going to be the Spirit of Caliban and the Spirit of the Coyote. Now, the Spirit of Caliban says powered melee final blows trigger an ignition, and of course the Spirit of Coyote is going to give you an additional class ability, which of course for the Hunter is dodge. I still think it's weird that it doesn't say a second dodge ability, but I do understand the Hunter does have a, technically he's got one ability on Silver that's not a dodge, but we don't talk about that. No, it's actually really useful, but so the way this works is the Spirit of Caliban and the Coyote are going to work together for one simple reason, and that is thanks to Gambler's Dodge. Of course, for Hunters, if you have on Gambler's Dodge, if you use your class ability near an enemy, your dodge, it will actually give you your full melee charge back. And that means that we essentially, with just, if we start off with 1 melee and both of our charges, we can get 3 melees off. You get off your melee, you dodge near an enemy, and get that charge back. You use your melee, dodge again, get that charge back. You basically get off 3 melees. Now, here's where things are going to get fun. Using the Withering Blade, or the Threaded Spike. Now, the Threaded Spike, of course, is a strand melee that is going to track and hit a bunch of enemies, and then it's going to come back to you. You're going to get melee energy back for each enemy that hits, and then if you catch it when it comes back, you get even more energy. The Withering Blades, however, are a stasis melee. You get 2 charges, they only hit 3 enemies, but they go very, very quickly. Each of those melee hits or kills is going to cause explosions. So imagine the Withering Blade melees going off, 3 enemies just exploding right there. Or if you are going and doing some low tier content, even some raids, depending on how strong you are or what the enemies are, then even the Threaded Spike will cause enemies to die. Now, the Threaded Spike is not as strong as the Withering Blade. I personally think I would probably use the Withering Blade over Threaded Spike. It really depends on the situation. You don't get back all your melee energy too often, but it really doesn't matter because what you really want is class energy. I think I'd rather use the Withering Blade because they're so much faster. They're guaranteed to bounce. Yes, you're not going to get back your class or your melee energy, but you get your class energy back pretty quickly on the Hunter anyway. So I think I can get it down to like 17 seconds, so it's not really that big of a deal. So that combination is going to make melee builds very, very powerful. Now, either one of those by themselves is already pretty good. I mean, Spirit of Coyote, just getting a second dodge is already very strong for hunters because of what we can use it for. We can use it for all of our slam abilities, our Shadow Slam and our Shadow Dive and our Shatter Dive. Not to mention the fact that, I mean, it's just a dodge. You can dodge out of danger. Using that dodge will reload your weapons. Using that dodge can give you a second melee ability. The dodge on the hunter should not be slept on, by the way. If anyone's ever cares about it, the dodge for hunters is one of the best class abilities. I'd say probably the best ability in the game just because of all the different things they can do. Reloading your weapons, giving you back your melee energy, letting you use all your dives. I'm not even talking about Prismatic, I'm talking everything. Letting you use all your dives. And not to mention it's going to proc on anything that works on class abilities. So never, never, never sleep on the hunter dodge. Make sure if you're playing a hunter, you get that mobility up to 100. I know people downplay mobility all the time. I know people that are especially not hunters. I know Titans and Warlocks, you don't have to worry about it. If you're playing a hunter, you're a hunter main. You want to be using your dodge and using it correctly because it is a jack of all trades move and can help you with a lot of different builds. So, I'm just saying that because I hear a lot of people don't try to build for mobility even on hunters. That is a very, very bad thing to do, especially for PvE at least. For PvP, I couldn't really tell you, but like I said, dodge is a very good move, and it's multi-talented. Yeah, like I said, that by itself was pretty good. Caliban's Hand, it was pretty good already by itself, and combining these two together, they're going to work together very well. I think it's going to be a very good combination as well. And then finally, I think this might be my favorite combination for PvE. That's going to be the Spirit of Galanor and the Spirit of the Gerfalcon. These are two very strong exotic effects that I could only dream of having. If I could combine two for Void and use them forever, it would probably be the Galanor and the Gerfalcon. I'm going to be able to get my super back, or at least get energy back for it very often. On top of the fact, I will be getting invisible all the time because of Gerfalcon. Now, I am a Void Hunter main. I'm usually either using the Gerfalcon or I'm using the Omniaculus. I'm a Void Invis Hunter. These are just awesome abilities. Now, being able to use Deadfall and getting a ton of energy back while being able to turn invisible all the time is going to be a very, very awesome combination. I don't have to worry about using one or the other. This is a combination that granted, most of these combinations are combinations I could have only dreamed of before, but this is going to be like, it feels almost like this was made specifically for me. Like, I really cannot wait to use this one. I think this is going to be the #1 role that I'm going to be hunting for. Second will probably be my Inmost Light and Starter combination there. I think the 3 combinations I'm looking for the most are, one was the honorable mention was the Inmost Light and Starter. Spirit of Galanor and Gerfalcon is the second one. And I think that probably Galanor and Starter will be the third one. I think those are the 3 really big PvE combinations I'll be looking for Hunter. Now, there are also a couple of PvP combinations that I was looking at here. Now, again, I'm not a big PvPer, so you have to correct me in the comments. If you are a PvPer, let me know how feasible these sound to you. It's not like I haven't played PvP before. I have. I've been doing comp for a while. I was doing comp pretty heavy right before we basically got sunset. So I was actually working on getting my Not Forgotten. I hadn't gotten it. Keep in mind, I had stopped playing Destiny for a while. But I'd earned my Luna's Hell. I was working my way through comp to earn my Not Forgotten. And that's when I found out about stuff getting sunset. And that's when I stopped doing it. And I think the fact that sunsetting happened might be one of the other reasons I stopped PvPing. I liked the idea of earning those special weapons, and that's why I was grinding to get them. And then they got sunset, and then I didn't want to do it anymore. Now they're back, but I still don't want to go back to PvP. But that being said, let me know what you think about these PvP combinations. And I've got 2 for the Hunter. I don't got a lot because I don't PvP, but the first one I got is going to be the Spirit of the Dragon and the Spirit of the Coyote. Spirit of the Dragon says using your class ability reloads all weapons and increases weapon handling speed for a brief time. I know that's pretty big for PvP. And then Spirit of Coyote, of course, gives you a second dodge ability. So you can basically proc Spirit of the Dragon a couple times. You'll have up, hopefully have up at least 1 at all times, but you can easily reload all your weapons. I think that sounds like a pretty decent PvP roll. The second one I got was the Spirit of Renewal. Combined with the, Spirit of Renewal and the Spirit of Cartoon. It was the same one I mentioned before, that Grandmaster combination. I think would also probably work in PvP as well, because again, it's going to give not only you, but your teammates some pretty crazy damage reduction. It's going to lower the damage of your opponents, so it'll be really good to use the choke points on top of getting that woven mail back as well. So 1 grenade is going to give you woven mail and extreme damage reduction. So that sounds like a pretty good PvP combination to me as well. Let me know what you guys think about that one down below. That is all my combinations, or at least the top 5 combinations I've got for PvP for the for PvE for the Hunter, and then I got 2 for PvP for the Hunter too. So let me know what combinations you guys are thinking down below. I will be doing the Titan next, and then I'll do the Warlock after that. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of the combinations here. Let me know what you would rate them. Let me know what combinations you guys are looking forward to, or if you're not even looking to use the exotic class item, you want to use a regular exotic for a prismatic build, let me know what you guys are looking at. I am also reworking on that Titan build. I actually had the video almost ready, and then Twid dropped this week, and we know what the actual combinations we're going to have available are. So I'm redoing that video with one of those combinations as well. So keep that in mind. That one should be coming out in the next week. I'm basically going to go through and redo a lot of the builds that I was already looking at. I had stopped working on some, or I kind of had some on paper, but until I knew what the combinations we would have were, I didn't really know how to proceed. Now that I know what they are, I've got about 4 more builds that I am looking to get out there, not including the Titan build I already had ready to go. So keep that one in mind. Thank y'all for coming by. Please like the video if you like what we're doing here. If you love it, please sub to the channel. Thank y'all for coming by, and I will see you on the next video.